Today we're going to be on page 95 in our notebooks, and we're going to title it Benchmark Review. So go ahead and pause your video so that you can set up your notebook. Alright, let's look at example A. It says Jillian went to the store and bought 3 pounds of blueberries and 5 pounds of raspberries. Blueberries cost $2.50 per pound, and raspberries cost $1.25 per pound. If Jillian gave the cashier $20, how much change did she receive? So the very first thing I need to do is take my highlighter. So go ahead and get your highlighter out of your box. And I want to highlight the important information. Well, what I know is that 3 pounds of blueberries is going to be important. 5 pounds of strawberries is going to be important. Something else that's also important is that blueberries cost $2.50 per pound, and raspberries cost $1.25 per pound. And then it says if Jillian gave the cashier $20, so I want to go ahead and circle this $20. She gave the cashier a $20 bill, and then how much change did she receive? Remember to always underline your question. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to organize my work. And so in order for me to organize my work, I want to title my pages on 2 different sides. I have blueberries and raspberries. So I'm going to put blueberries here. And I'm going to put raspberries on the other side. And I also want to draw a line. That way I know, we can separate our work. One side is blueberries and one side is raspberries, and we don't get our work confused. So let's look at 3 pounds of blueberries. I have 3 pounds of blueberries. And then it says my blueberries cost $2.50. Remember, this word per tells me to multiply. So when I see the word per, I need to multiply. So I'm going to take these two and I'm going to multiply them together. So I have $2.50 and I multiply that by 3. Remember that when you multiply and you have a decimal, you don't have to line them up. So I'm going to do 3 times 0, which is 0. 3 times 5, which is 15. 3 times 2, which is 6, and 6 plus 1, which is 7. I'm going to count how many places I have behind my decimal. So I have 1, 2. And then I have no places here. So I know I need to move my decimal over 2 places. So 1 and 2. So I know that my blueberries are going to cost me $7.50. So let's keep that there, and then let's do the raspberries. So it says I have 5 pounds of raspberries. And it says that my raspberries cost $1.25 per pound. And I know that per means to multiply. So I need to go ahead and multiply these. So I'm going to take $1.25, and I'm going to multiply that by 5. And again, I'm not lining up the decimals because I don't have to do that when I multiply, only when I add and subtract. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. So again, I need to count how many places behind my decimal. So I know I have 2 places here, and I have no places here. So 2 plus 0 is 2, so I know that I need to move my decimal over 2 places. So my raspberries cost me $6.25. Alright, so let's see if we answered our question. Our question says if Jillian gave the cashier $20, how much change did she receive? So I've used 3, I've used 5, I've used $2.50, and I've used $1.25, but I have not used that $20 yet. And so in order for me to do that, so I know I'm going to buy some blueberries and I'm going to buy some raspberries. And so I need to find the total cost of those together. And so what I want to do is I want to add these two. And so I'm going to take $7.50 and I'm going to add $6.25. So I get 5, 7, don't forget to bring down your decimal, and I get 13. So I know together that blueberries and raspberries are going to cost me $13.75. But again, I still didn't use this 20. I still have to do something with that. So if I know my total at the store is $13.75, and then I'm going to give that cashier a $20 bill, I have to see how much change that I'm going to get back. And so in order for me to find out how much change I'm going to get back, I have to subtract them. So I have $20 minus $13.75, which was the total cost of my blueberries and my raspberries. So what I have to do is I have to borrow. And so when I borrow, I know that this 2 now becomes a 1. And then this becomes a 9, and then this becomes a 10. So I do 10 minus 5, which is 5, 9 minus 7, which is 2. I go ahead and bring down that decimal. 9 minus 3 is 6, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. And so I know that my change is going to be $6.25. So once I give that cashier that $20 bill, I'm going to get $6.25 back. So let's look at example B. Example B says Joshua had $50 to spend on gifts for his friends, and he spent $10 on a gift for a friend in one shop. In another shop, he found a keychain for the rest of his 8 friends. How much did each keychain cost? So again, I want to take my highlighter. Anytime that I have a word problem, I want to be marking my text with my highlighter. So let's see, he had a total of $50. But he already spent 10, and what I know about the word spent is it tells me that I'm going to be subtracting. So go ahead and write the subtraction symbol on top of that. Then it says, in another shop he found a keychain for the rest of his 8 friends. So he found a keychain and for those 8 friends. So how much did each keychain cost? So the word each is going to tell me that I need to divide. So I'm going to put division here. So what I want to do is I just want to set up my problem just from left to right from my word problem that I just read. So I have $50. He spent 10, so I know that spent tells me to subtract. So I've got to do 50 minus 10, okay? And then after I get this answer, well, 50 minus 10 I know is 40. Okay, so I've done 50 and I've done 10, so I can check those off on my word problem. And it says he found a keychain for the rest of his 8 friends, and how much did each one of those cost? Well, the word each told me to divide, and so I want to take this 8 and this 40 that I just got when I subtracted, and I want to go ahead and divide them. So I know that 40 divided by 8 gives me 5. So it says how much did each keychain cost? Well, each keychain cost him $5. So each keychain cost him $5. So that is my final answer. Example C says apple pie uses 4 pounds of apples to make 4 pies. How many apples would you need to make 12 pies? So again, let's use our highlighter so that we can highlight the important information. Alright, so I have apple pie uses 4 pounds of apples. That's really important. And with those 4 pounds of apples, I can make 4 apple pies. Then your question, we want to underline it. So our question says, how many apples would you need to make 12 pies? Okay, but I still have some important information in my question that I need to highlight. I need to highlight 12 pies. So in order for me to solve this problem, I need a box. And what I want to do is I want to label my units on my box. So I know that I'm talking about apples and I'm talking about pies. So I'm going to put apples and I'm going to put pies. So it's going to take 4 pounds of apples to make 4 pies. So if you notice, this is all in the same sentence, and because it's in the same sentence, I know it needs to go on top of each other in my box. So make sure that you keep that in mind in order for you to set up your proportion correctly. It says, how many apples would you need to make 12 pies? Okay, well, it's talking about pies, so I know that it needs to go where my pies label is, so it needs to go right here. So let's go ahead and write that there. I know that I have 12 pies. So all I have to do now is I have to put that X in there. So X goes in that missing spot there. Now all I have to do is I have to rewrite this. So I have 4 over 4 is equal to X over 12. And so this is really easy. All I have to do is cross multiply and then divide. So I take 12 times 4. And if we don't know what 12 times 4 is, let's figure it out. Well, 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 1 is 4. So I get 48. But I also have to divide this by 4. So I take that 48 and I'm going to divide that by 4. So I'm going to put that 4 on the outside. 4 goes into 4 one time. And I'm left over with 0. But I got to bring down this 8. And 4 goes into 8 2 times. And again, I'm left over with no remainder. So I know that I need 12 apples to make 12 pies. So I'm going to put X is equal to 12 apples. Alright, what I want you to do is go ahead and glue these in, and then once we do that, I want you to take out your assignment so that we can do number 4 together. So that's right on the back side of the front page. So we want to do number 4 together, so go ahead and get that out. Number 4 says on Black Friday, 156 people waited in line at We Got Deals electronics store. 2/3 of the people bought a new gaming system. 1/4 of the people bought a new video game, and then the rest of the people left without buying anything at all. And then how many people did not buy anything? So let's highlight. I have 156 people in total. Then it says 2/3 of. Well, I know anytime I see that word next to it, the word of next to any type of number, I know that that is going to be multiplication. So anytime you see the number next to the word of, I want to multiply. But it has to be right next to each other, otherwise it doesn't make a difference. Alright, so then I have 1/4 of. So again, I have that word and it's right next to a fraction or a number. And so I'm going to do multiplication. I know that means multiplication. And it says the rest of the people left without buying anything. So let's separate our problem so that we can separate our work. So I have 3 bullets here. So I want to go ahead and make 3 spots for some work. So this first one says they bought a new gaming system. So I'm going to put system here. The next one says they not bought a new video game. So I'm going to put game. And the last one says they didn't buy anything at all. So I'm going to put nothing. So now that I've organized my work, it's going to make it a lot easier for me not to get too lost. So I'm going to take that 156, and that's going to be my total, right? That's how much I started with. So I'm going to put 156 here. So let's start on the video game system. So it says 2/3 of. So again, I know that I need to multiply, and I want to multiply that with that 156. I'm going to put times 2/3. In order for me to change that 156 into a fraction, I have to put a 1 underneath it. So all I have to do is multiply straight across. And so what I do is I take this 156 and I multiply that by 2. So let's see what we get when we do that. 156 times 2. 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So I get 312 on the top. So let's go ahead and rewrite this as a fraction. So I have 312 on top, and I want to find out what's going to go on the bottom of that. And let's go ahead and box this in. Let's just go ahead and do that. Alright, so now all I have to do on the bottom is I have to multiply straight across again. And so I want to do 1 times 3. Well, I know that 1 times 3 is just 3. So I have 312 over 3. Well, that really doesn't tell me how many people. It's not 312 people. It's not 3 people. It really doesn't tell me a whole lot. And so I know that a fraction is the same thing as division. And so I want to go ahead and divide that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it off to the side where I have a little bit more room. So I'm going to do 312, and I'm going to divide that by 3. Well, I know that 3 goes into 3 one time. I need to bring down this 1. Well, 3 does not go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0. So then I need to bring down this 2. Well, 3 goes into 12 4 times. So what this tells me is that 104 people are buying a new video game system. So let's go ahead and write that right here. So I know that 104 people are going to be buying a new gaming system. Okay, but now I need to see how many of you are going to buy a new video game. So I have 1/4 of 156. Well, 1/4 is really easy because all I have to do is I have to take that 4 and I want to divide it into 156. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 156, and then what I'm doing is I'm multiplying by 1/4, right? Because that word of next to 1/4 tells me to multiply. I put a 1 underneath my 156. And so I do 156 times 1. Well, 156 times 1 is just 156. 1 times 4, well, that's just 4. Alright, in order for us to finish this, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and log off of this video, or close this video rather, and then I want you to go to the next video. And the second part is going to be labeled part 2.